Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And I want to talk to you about a disc you probably don't own. Well, some of you will. But boy, is this wonderful and interesting and delightful and a little bit off the beaten path. It's this disc on Pentatone of Martinu double concertos. Now, Martinu actually wrote more double concertos than we have here, but what you get is the concerto for two violins and orchestra, which is a real rarity. There are only about 3 recordings of it. There's this one, there's one on Hyperion, and there was like one other, or maybe 2 others, that I had like a bazillion years ago on LP. And then there's the Rhapsody-Concerto for Viola and Orchestra, which has been recorded 1 million times. And finally, the Concerto for 2 pianos and orchestra, which again has only been recorded 3 or 4 times, and which is a wonderful work. It's a late work. It's contemporary with the symphonies and sounds quite a bit like them. So if you like the symphonies, you're really going to like the double piano concerto. It's typically Martinuvian. It's very busy, and the textures are rather thick, and the harmonies are just wonderful. It's a great piece. The performances here are splendid. They feature Deborah and Sarah Nemtanu, violin, and Magali de Messe, viola, or de Messe, however you pronounce it, and Moma and Mari Kadama, piano. And all of them are just wonderful, with the Orchestra Philharmonic de Marseille under Lawrence Foster, the redoubtable Lawrence Foster. And it's wonderfully recorded. It's pentatone, so it's probably going to sound great. I mean, it's an SACD, if you want to do that surround thing. I don't. I just play it normally. But this music is wonderful. And I want to play you a little example, because I am just in love with the slow movement, particularly of the double violin concerto, which nobody knows, but begins with a tune of such innocence and sweetness that goes off in such interesting directions. And oh, it's amazing. And you could hear the 2 violins exchanging the tune. Composers get no credit, especially 20th century composers, for being charming. And I mean that word, charming. And this music is charming in the best possible sense of the term. It's enchanting. It's just delicious. It's incredibly charming. What can I tell you? Let me just play it for you. Just listen to this. It's going to blow your mind if you're into charm. Isn't that just charming? I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's one of the world's most beautiful melodies. It's got everything going for it. The whole piece does, and it never gets played, because where are you going to find 2 violinists? Martinu wrote it for 2, juvenile prodigies, a pair of twins or something like that, or a brother and sister. Or, I don't know. There were 2 of them, obviously. So he wrote this piece, and it is splendid. Of course, typically with Martinu, he wrote it, then I think he forgot that he wrote it. He just would write something and move on to the next thing. It doesn't make any difference. It's a minor masterpiece in its genre. There aren't that many double violin concertos, are there? There are very, very few. But this is one of the great ones. It's truly one of the great ones. And I hope, as you could hear, it's just charming. I hate to keep saying it. Well, anyway, the double piano concerto was a lot darker and spookier and more interesting, in the sense that it explores a less charming range of emotions. It's a little bit more trenchant, but it's just as good. They're both fabulous, and the Rhapsody-Concerto is always lovely, but you've probably heard it 1 million times, or you can get it somewhere else. This you get for the 2 double concertos. It is just one of those discs that I'm so happy that it exists and puts these pieces together, because no one else has, no one else will, and this is your only shot to get both of them on one disc. So keep on listening, friends. Check out your Martinu double concertos on PentaTone. Take care.